watching my girl Tasha K. She was talking about her thyroid and how she had to travel to New York recently for a thyroid procedure, that she had hypothyroidism, and they were trying to put her on medication, and she healed it the natural and organic way. And I have a similar, very, very, very similar story. And by all means, I am not a doctor. I am not here to give anybody any health advice. Go see your doctor. That's exactly what I did. And I'm really actually grateful for one of my doctors. I went to just get a normal physical, and my doctor just noticed my thyroids were oversized. They were enlarged. She could tell just by looking at me. She's like, when was the last time you checked your thyroids? And I'm like, I haven't. She asked me if it ran in my family. And I remember my mom has hypothyroidism. She had probably been taking medication for a while, and I let the doctor know that. She asked me if I had fasted for the day, and my appointment was pretty early in the morning. I hadn't eaten anything. So they did a lab test on me for it's called TSH, I believe, or TSH, TSH. It stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. So it's a TSH level test that they do on you. So I went ahead and did that. They did, calcium, cholesterol, all my blood cell counts and everything. And while the results we're waiting, it was going to take a few days. And I reached out to my mom and I'm like, hey, do you know your actual thyroid level? Because when I had left, the doctor said a normal thyroid level is anywhere between, I believe it was 0.5 to 5.0. If it was anywhere above, you could have hypothyroidism, where you have an inactive thyroid, or it's less active than it should be depending on your level, and then a hyperthyroid, where your metabolism is very hyperactive, which that's what your thyroid is. It controls your metabolism. And I was gaining a lot of weight. I was also very stressed out, and in a place in my life, a lot of changes were happening. So I asked my mom, I said, what are your levels? She told me she was somewhere around a 14.5.6. A few days later, the doctors call me back and they say, your test results came back and you were at like a 34.8. Like some ungodly number where my thyroid was completely shot. And they said, well, you need to get on medication immediately. So they put me on the medication. I just was, at the time, I was in my mid-20s, and I'm like, I'm gonna be on medication already. I was pretty health conscious. I was into understanding more about how food really is our medicine, and how the Western culture has kind of, taken a different route than Eastern medicine, and, it has its own way. So learning more about just natural remedies and food and herbs. After doing some research, I found some supplements and vitamins and things to take, and I wanted to try that out. The doctor's plan was to have me on the medication for 30 days, bring me back, do the labs, and see where my levels were. From then, we were either going to increase or decrease the dose depending on what the results were. Well, I decided, not based on doctor's advice, which I'm not suggesting that you do, but that's what I did. I decided I was going to take the natural route. After finding out a few things on Google, good old trusty Google, I found some things to take, and I wanted to share them with you and share my results. All right. First vitamin I took is selenium. Okay. Now, selenium is a natural hormone that's pretty much what is going on in the thyroid. And if you have hypothyroidism, you need to take that selenium supplement to get things going. The next one is the mineral zinc. Now, the mineral zinc is very important for T3 and T4 and TSH hormone. Again, I really don't know what this means, But I do know that it's a vitamin, and at the least I'm taking vitamins, right? Now, you don't want to go overboard. I took the daily recommended, and with or without food, whatever the directions tell you. Some people are sensitive, their stomach is sensitive to a lot of vitamins, so take things throughout the day, however works for your body. And I went in with iodine. I went in with, like, this is a makeup commercial. I went in with some iodine. Iodine is actually the only role in the body, from what I've done research on, is for thyroid function. So getting that iodine in there was great. Iron is usually associated with some type of thyroid dysfunction. So I also have a slight bit of anemia, and I get a little lethargic sometimes. So iron is always good for me and for a lot of women. And then I had a couple Brazil nuts. Fresh Brazil nuts I got from the farmer's market or from like Sprouts, and they're pretty pricey, but you only need 1 or 2. I took the selenium, the zinc, the iodine, the iron, and the vitamin D. The vitamin D, I forgot to say, is also linked to thyroid issues. And the Brazil nuts, and I put them in those little pill containers, and I just took that. And I took that every day religiously for the 30 days. And when it was time to go back to my appointment, I went, they asked me how everything was doing, how the medicine was. I said everything was fine. I didn't say anything. And then they called me with my results. They were like, Paris, great news. Your thyroid level has went down to 12.6. Okay. I went down over 22 points in my TSH levels just by taking the supplements. I was blown away. And before I can get the words out, they said, all right, so you know what we need to do to get you back to normal? We're going to increase your next prescription. And when they said that, my heart dropped. They didn't even know that I hadn't even taken any of the medication. At this point, I'm like, okay. And then they were going to give me yet another test in another 30 days. I said, you know what? Okay. And instead, I continued with my routine. At this point, I called my mom. I let her know. And she's like, you know what? I'm still taking my medication. And like I said, do what's best for you. I just was shocked at how things were going. I also bettered my diet. My stress levels were down. I was working out and all the things that it takes, working on your mindset that I'm going to get healthy no matter what, that this is my body and I see myself as a full vessel of health. Those things also helped. Now, when they called me with my 60-day results, my level was at a 4.2. I was in the range of a normal thyroid level, and I have not had thyroid issues since then, over 5 years ago. So my mom is still on her medication, and that's okay. It is what it is. I just really wanted to share this with you. We can take control. The things that God gave us on this earth are so powerful. It's all we need. Send this video out to friends and family with the notation and the very, very, very serious notation that this is not medical advice. Always go see a medical expert. This is just my experience. All right, you guys, that's what we got for today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.